Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here as we prepare for the 24th race of the season for the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series. It is the third to last stop of the regular season before we determine the playoffs, and we are here tonight under the lights at the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. I'm Seth Cole alongside Samuel Dyer, and Sam, we've said this for the last 3 or 4 weeks. This is the racetrack where we could very well see someone be able to race their way into the playoffs that we really haven't talked about all season long.
Yeah, this has been on everyone's schedule of I have to win. This is my chance to finally book my way into the playoffs. With all my bad luck I've had all season, it's time to book my ticket into the playoffs.
75 laps of racing here tonight in the National Series race. One thing we've been told here tonight, and we fully expected this as well, we're going to be seeing a lot of the manufacturers working together regardless of what teams they drive for. We've heard the Toyotas will be working together. I saw a number of Chevys working together in the practice session, but you and I both know that when it comes down to the end of the race, it's every man for himself.
Yeah, I mean, some teammates will be starting to try to work together and try to help the ones that have not already made their way into the playoffs, or even help their teammate to get more bonus points to set themselves up in the playoffs as well. But yeah, it is going to be a long race, and I think the main key is if we stay green, how will pit stops affect these drivers? Because if you come in too late and you come in with too small of a group, you could be losing that front pack.
Coming into this race, we've only got one driver in the field that's a former winner at a super speedway this season. The first time these drivers were here to kick off the season at Daytona, Zach York, Cup Series driver, took the checkered flag. However, when we were at Talladega Superspeedway, Chris Whitaker pointed his way into the playoffs with a victory at that superspeedway, and he rolls on the outside of row 2 here tonight. Now, I know, obviously, it's very difficult to be able to pick out favorites, but do we look at him maybe to try and pick up his second superspeedway win in 3 attempts?
Yeah, I mean, super speedway racing, it's all about luck mainly and having your car in the right spot. So Whitaker's already done that so far this season, and honestly has to be one of those front runners that you're thinking about, as well as the BJ McLeod guys, as they have all put their machines quite high up into this qualifying in the top 10. So all 3 of those machines, to see them hook up, I think their cars are going to be up front leading the charge for most of this race.
Obviously, you would think that Daytona would be a huge player as far as the playoff grid. Really, the only thing that Daytona can do here tonight, as we earlier mentioned, is have a driver that's outside of the cutoff line be able to win their way into the playoffs. Really, the only battle that's going on right around that cutoff line. Barry Stevens is in the 12th position, 28 points ahead of Kevin Roy. Now, we do have quite a full field here tonight. Obviously, a lot of drivers like to race the super speedways. It'll be interesting to see, if Barry Stevens runs into any early problems, if Kevin Roy can capitalize or at least close up that gap. But there's not a whole lot of regular season left.
No, there really isn't. Some drivers actually got some EOLs. Cody Jordan, Carson Bowers, and Justin Carey all hit with EOLs because they did not hit practice requirement levels, so they'll be starting in the back.
Green flags in the air as we get ready to race here tonight at Daytona. David Santini. We know he's good at just about everywhere, but we've actually never seen what he can do at the super speedways, as he has no drafting help right now. John Jones saw that pink Hello Kitty Chevrolet. He's dropping to the back as he's having connection issues. That's going to hurt that inside line.
Yeah, blinking and deciding to drop to the back. It's not a bad decision to be in the back when you're going to be with your friends, but guess what? With John Jones dropping back, you can see on that inside line, all 3 BJ McLeod machines all hooked up with one another.
Brandon Andrews saw that as Whitaker pushed him to the front. He's going to drop down to the inside and stifle any momentum they could have had going into turn 3.
That inside line, a lot more form, so you're going to be seeing them try to pull away from this outside line, but you're starting to see that side trap still is possible, and if you can get a good push from a car behind you on the outside line, you can stay up front pretty well.
You see how pretty much up here at the front, you've got them 3 wide, 2 rows, or sorry, make that double wide, 3 rows deep, I should say. Then they're going to single file out there for the tail end of the lead pack. Then you get back to a second pack where they're double wide as well.
Yeah, we're expecting these drivers, just based on how they're running right now, to be pretty tame and really try to save their machines for later on in this race, not to have the big one early, as everyone's racing pretty nice and clean at the moment, all single filed up like you said, and just waiting to make their charge to the front in those final 15 laps.
On board here with David Santini, following in the tire tracks of Brandon Andrews, 11th in the playoff points, and Santini, of course, the most wins so far this season with 7, currently sitting up in the number 1 seed for the playoffs. And so if you're Santini, I think we're going to see him try and keep his 99 up front all night long.
Yeah, he's going to be trying to lead as many laps as he can, but Brandon Andrews leading the charge. It also looks like Jeffrey Meyer going to be dropping back. That 38 machine could not find a hole to come back down, so he's stuck on the outside practically by himself.
I'm not sure he'll be able to tuck in the line behind Logan Helton because Tim Williams, along with his teammate Tom Laneville, they've got a pretty good run. 38 thought about sticking down there, but was not clear, and he's going to continue to fall back.
Yeah, hesitation that you saw there from the 38. You cannot have that here at Super Speedway Racing. If you hesitate, there's a chance the car behind you is going to hit you in a weird spot, or you're going to put yourself in a very dangerous situation. If you're going to make a move, make it and confirm it and really just go for it. Don't hold back here during Super Speedway Racing.
Of course, Tim Williams was not going to let Jeffrey Meyer in because we already mentioned the Toyotas all said they were going to work together. The MBM, Joe Gibbs Racing, and BJ McLeod cars all planning to work together here tonight. As you see right now, 5 of those Toyota Supras all lined up in that inside line behind the Chevrolet of Brandon Andrews.
And Whitaker now jumping to the outside, having help from Meyer as well as 35, and trying to make that outside line work. And they're going to try their best here. And like we said, this is a wild card race. Drivers that have been having bad luck all season long. It's their time to push forward and make a move. And the car that's in 7th place at the moment, 13 machine of Tracy Powers, looking to make a statement after some bad luck these last couple weeks.
A couple of the MBM Motorsports cars right there. The 35 of Matthew Geringer just ahead of him as you've got the Chevrolets trying to make that outside line work. Chris Whitaker with a rear deck lid full of Jeffrey Meyer.
These drivers are going to be trying to use their bumper to bump draft. They have to be careful during that tri-oval section and also coming out of 4. Those are coming out of the corners, I should say. Those are some spots where your car's going to feel the lightest and you really don't want to take a bump or it's going to spin you around.
Hey, you saw right there coming out of the tri-oval, Santini who was pushing Andrews and Myers who was pushing Whitaker. Both of those cars kind of seem to step out just a little bit. It's got to be really difficult to try and line those bumpers up when you're trying to push somebody ahead of you.
Yeah, and it's going to be tricky for some of these drivers because some of the front ends actually don't match with the back ends of other machines. So that's why you're looking for most of these manufacturers to work with one another because their back ends and front ends kind of match a little bit better than what the others would be doing.
Obviously, a lot of the tracks we've gone to the past couple of weeks, the thing we've been talking about is tires, tires, tires. Of course, last week at the Monster Mile of Dover, it was really all about tires. Here tonight, tires not as much of a concern. It's really just going to be more about fuel and when you decide to make that pit stop for that fuel.
Yeah, all these drivers, they have 3 sets to work with. The one that they're on right now and 2 on pit road. And these drivers, if we see a lot of cautions, they might be thinking about different runs. As you see Meyer getting shoved up to that 3rd lane all by himself. He's going to drop back. But these drivers are really feeling kind of comfortable with tires because they only really need to change 1 set during this whole entire race.
See a number of our former winners up here towards the front. David Santini, the 99, Logan Helton there in the 8. If we drop back, though, we're going to find a couple of our drivers that are running really well in points that have kind of adopted the Joe Gibbs racing strategy, if you will, and that's the Colleague Racing machines. Evan Longacre, Matt White, and Carson Bowers all running 21st through 23rd at the rear of the field. Yeah,
and all the way in the back is going to be 3rd place qualifier. That's John Jones leading the way in the back in that Hello Kitty machine. And John Jones, he's going to be trying to stay with colleague guys. And these machines, they have been quick at every racetrack we're at. But up front, I mean, these drivers making some moves. It's the 2 machine. Whitaker kind of blinked for a second, scaring some of these drivers up front.
I noticed back there, we saw Jeffrey Meyer fall to the back. I think that was on purpose because from Meyer on back, you got Meyer, Knight, Love, Roy, Conover, Gordon, Longacre, White, Jones, and Bowers. That's all your Chevy bow ties.
Car, I'm surprised at how much he's moved up. It's got to be the 9 machine, kind of by himself, not working with anyone, just trying to utilize the draft the best way that he can. That's Cody Jordan, who had to go all the way to the back with an EOL. Due to not hitting practice requirements, so not showing up enough for practice. So a 9 machine to start in the back, but already up in the top 10 and on the back end of this top side.
Yeah, a lot of times drivers are the mentality that your friends are where you find them. Doesn't matter if it's a teammate, if it's a manufacturer associate. It's just if you can find someone that's fast, more than likely you're going to try and work with them. As Brandon Andrews continues to show the way here, and he's just been basically blocking that inside line, making sure those BJ McLeod Toyotas do not get past him. That outside line was formulating a moment ago when Meyer was pushing Whitaker, but now it seems to have kind of stifled out, and it's remained a side-by-side between Whitaker and Stevens for that 3rd position for the last couple of laps.
Yeah, but I would not really hesitate or be worried at that outside line. Right now, I think everyone's kind of in cruise control until they need to come into the pits, which that's going to be around lap 45 to 40. These drivers will be aiming for, and that's if they try to go as far as they can. If they want to short pit this race, they'll be thinking about lap 30 to 35 for these drivers. So still in kind of a cruise control until they get to the time where they need to pit, and then at that point, most of these drivers will be trying to run up front and try to be lingering in that top pack.
You kind of get a feeling as well that if we do see this pit stop that we're expecting take place under green, we're more than likely, I think, going to see the Toyotas all come together at some point. The Chevrolets will all come together, but there's only a handful of Fords in tonight's race. I think there's only 3, that being Justin Carey in the 21, TJ Crampton in the 22, and Roger Gregory in the 12. They're right now kind of in the middle behind the Toyotas and in front of the Chevrolets. So are they having to adopt their own strategy, or do you think they maybe said to some of the Chevy drivers and some of the Toyota drivers, all right, we're gonna work with you guys?
They have to pick and choose who they're really going to work with. They can't just be lingering the 3 of them. I mean, they can if they're in the front pack, then the 3 can work together to try to make that outside line work. But it's more of pick a manufacturer team that you want to work with and hope that they want to still work with you in the end of the day.
TJ Crampton, of course, winning earlier on this season at Kentucky. Roger Gregory, his teammate, right behind him. Gregory right now in good position to make it into the playoffs. Justin Carey up there in the 21 machine. He's been struggling in the point stands. He's trying to get himself up there into the hunt for this championship, but right now he is currently back 15th in the playoff stands. Actually, no, correction. Justin Carey is actually filling in tonight. I forgot that actually Carey drives a 21 in the Cup Series. It's Kyle Payne that normally drives that 21 machine. And don't forget, that 21 car went to victory lane last week at Dover with Richard Reagan Jr. behind the wheel.
They're going to continue to try to get the momentum to carry forward for these guys. You know, we're getting so close to the end of regular season, and so much pressure is on these guys that are looking outside of the bubble of being inside the top 16. It's more of, hey, I need to hit my mark now and win this race. So that's why we're starting to see some drivers that have been outside looking in, trying to run up front so they can get a better finish than everyone else so far.
Yeah, it really all depends on, what the start requirement is for a driver to win their way in. Right now, the drivers that are in the field that have the highest number of starts this season, Kevin Roy in the 4 has made 20 attempts this year. Tom Laneville has made 11. The 2 of them are in tonight's race. Right now, Laneville is in the 11th position. Roy is back in 17th. But, there's other drivers in this field that have made less than that. Matt Knight has made 5 starts. Matt White has made 3. Tracy Powers has made 2. And Matthew Geringer has only made 1. So I don't know.
Oh, no, Cody Jordan!
It's
got a little bit of a bump.
And, oh, wow, that's a hard hit to the inside wall with the left side of his machine, but it's off the racing surface, so no yellow flag has been thrown.
And I was just about to say that the tri-oval has been very tricky coming out of it, and you had Tim Williams in the 19 right on the back bumper of the 9, and just clipped the 9 at the wrong point and took him to the inside wall.
That stifled the entire inside line as well, losing that 9 machine on the bottom lane, and that allowed Chris Whitaker to kind of look to the outside of Brandon Andrews for a brief moment. It's like Andrews is going to continue to lead this race, but boy, tough break there for Cody Jordan. He came into this race 37 points to the good, with a total of 24 drivers taking the green flag here tonight. Depending on what happens, Cody Jordan could find himself in a little bit of a situation when we get to our final 2 races of the season at Darlington and Richmond.
Yeah, it's going to be really rough for that machine moving forward, but just continue to look on. I mean, that tri-oval, like I was saying, that it looks like the most trickiest spot for all these drivers coming at it, like in the middle of the tri-oval and coming out. Everyone's wiggling everywhere, so if you are bump drafting right on someone's back bumper, you can do the same exact thing that we just saw.
We're going to try and see if we can look back at a replay of what happened to Cody Jordan. Another thing I saw these drivers really struggling with here today is the transition from the apron to the racetrack. That double yellow line is a paint line, and if you get your left sides onto that, the back end of the car wants to snap around, and we'll see if that might have been something that played into the spin by the 9 of Cody Jordan through the tri-oval.
Yeah, it really, we're going back to relook at this. It really looked like it was the back corner panel getting clipped by Tim Williams And Williams was on the back bumper of Cody Jordan throughout the whole entire tri-oval. So it was a shocker, but at the same time, like I said, cars have been wiggling, and if you wiggle and you hit a car at the quarter panel, you're launching them away.
And that shot to that inside wall with a left front, especially on that Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet, is going to be very detrimental to Cody Jordan. I mean, usually when you're at a super speedway impact of that kind, that is your race over. Doesn't matter if you're able to continue or not. You are going to be way off the pace.
Yeah, and right now Cody Jordan is so off the pace throughout, going just through the corner. His back speed is 150, and even on the back stretch, 150 as well. And it looks like the toe has been affected with that hit, as he is actually just fishtailing it down the back stretch. And that 9 machine, it doesn't look like he'll be able to really last. And right now, hoping for a big one for him to possibly gain other positions. That is not looking good. Other updates for drivers is the fact that it looks like John Jones, we saw him blinking at the start of the race. He actually blinked out. The internet took him out of the race. He is trying to reconnect back into this thing, but not looking good for that 15 machine.
So remember too, this is an open setup league, and we're seeing that a lot of drivers may be setting up their cars to be very loose. Last 2 times around out of turn 2, Tim Williams in the 19, his car has turned down underneath the double yellow line, the back straightaway. I want to watch and see if it happens here again, because I don't know if he's purposely going down there or if the car is guiding him down there based on the way he has it set up. And you see right there, he's having to fight the car back to the right halfway down the back straightaway. So something says to me that he's got that car very loose.
Very loose and ready for possibly when the tires finally get worn down and maybe it will tighten up. But at the same time, right now, it's a dangerous spot to get any type of contact made. As you're starting to see drivers in the back actually starting to get a little frisky side-by-side action back here, trying to gain up on our front runners.
Yeah, those Chevrolets look like they are ready to go, being led by the 10 of Evan Longacre on the top side. And we were told by Logan Helton pre-race that outside line, if you can get 2 or 3 really fast cars lined up there, you can definitely see that outside line move with a lot of momentum.
Yeah, and if you can get possibly 5 drivers to make that third lane work, and you can start making a lot of passes, this is looking like that is Matt White, who actually came into the pits 1 lap down. So this is kind of the area where we're thinking maybe drivers could pit and make it to the end if they were short pitting, as Matt White pitted by himself, luckily in the back end of this pack, but 1 lap down.
Yeah, I find that really interesting. I would find that odd if that were a regularly scheduled stop, just based on the fact that, for the very least, his Colleague Racing teammates didn't come down with him. He came down all by his lonesome, and to your point, he is now 1 lap down to the leaders. It would have been pretty likely if he'd come down with a couple more drivers, he probably could have stayed on the tail end of the lead lap.
I'm trying to go back and see what exactly happened to this 11, because there's some slight front left damage that he got. Actually, also some right and left front damage as he made heavy contact with the 10 machine of Longacre. So I think White possibly had to come in, just feeling like the damage was too much for that 11.
Well, the good news for him is that, there is very much the likelihood, since we are at Daytona, we are at a super speedway, that we may end up seeing a caution before we get to the end of this race, and right now he would be in the free pass position. Cody Jordan's also a lap down in 23rd with all of his damage, and John Jones, you mentioned him falling out, he has actually returned back into the race, currently 8 laps down. So all 24 cars that took the green are still in, however 21 of them are on the lead lap, and we always highlight drivers that are making their debuts during the course of each week, and we've got the number 51 out of Jeremy Clements Racing here this evening, Josh Conover, making his Rapid Fire Pizza National Series debut. Right now, to the tail end of the lead pack, just riding, kind of feeling this out, but who knows? He might be a driver we'll be talking about up inside the top 5 before all is said and done, depending on how this race turns out.
And these cars up front all just scattered in front of the 51. I'm going back to see what exactly happened, because everyone kind of just had a moment in front of them, and I believe that started around Matt Knight.
That would have been up around the 14th position. And yeah, you can definitely see the field has lost the lead pack. It's hard to tell. There might be a little bit of rear end damage to the back of the 88 of James Love, but I think we're going to see that quite a bit for a number of these drivers with the pushing we're going to see.
Well, it happened going into the tribal. They were actually 3 wide. It was Matt Knight, the 88 of James Love, and 38 of Jeffrey Meyer. There were 3 wide contact with Matt Knight into the 38, and then after making that contact, came down into the 88, which then stalled everyone up to slow down just in case they all wrecked.
You can see as we're going to go on board here with James Love leading this second pack, just how much ground they lost to the lead group. That's the 12 of Roger Gregory up there, and while they are racing double file in that lead group, we'll see if Love can lead this Chevy contingency back up to the tail end of this lead group.
Yeah, no, if these guys stay in line in that second groove, they're 2.5 seconds back from 13th place, which is the back end of this lead pack. And if they stay in line, they should be able to gain back up onto this lead pack. But it's all about working together, staying smooth, and really not jumping out of line.
Back up towards the front, we continue to race side by side, and we may have had a lead change at the line there. I think Chris Whitaker may have barely edged Brandon Andrews for leading that lap.
And that is correct. Chris Whitaker did lead that lap in the 2 machine on the outside line, got a huge push from the 35, and it's one of those things of if it's not about leading the whole entire lap, it's about getting that run out of 4 to possibly finish in front of the car that's on the inside.
Chris Whitaker is one of only 4 drivers that is locked into the playoffs this season through a trip to victory lane. That, of course, as we mentioned, is at Talladega. Joshua Gordon, David Santini, and Logan Helton are the only other drivers locked in via wins. But you talked about momentum coming into this race, drivers that have struggled trying to use this as a springboard heading towards the playoffs. I think Chris Whitaker would fit into that category as he has really had a lot of bad luck in the last few weeks.
It's been some different strategies that just haven't worked out. Being caught up in accidents. I mean, you could probably list off everything that could go wrong this 2 machine has had all season long. So looking for that luck to switch, and this is really the track for that to happen.
You mentioned the fact this is going to be about a one-stop race. The question is for these drivers, do they stretch it as far as they can go, or do they try coming to pit road as soon as that window's open, guaranteeing they can make it the rest of the way?
Like I said, that window they're looking for, lap 35 to 36. They also could try pitting on lap 30 and banking on a big one happening, but there's always the potential of these drivers still staying clean and green. But I am very nervous. Almost every other lap, Tim Williams is just getting extremely loose out of the tribal, almost going and cutting in front of another car's bumper at 19 cars. Someone to watch out for, as we've already seen him make some contact with the 9. And I'm nervous that he might make contact or someone might spin him out based off how these cars are just getting so wicked loose.
Yeah, I've been watching a couple of cars dancing around, especially over in the tri-oval. You already mentioned Tim Williams, also the 13 of Tracy Powers and the 8 of Logan Helton. They look like they've been having a very difficult time keeping their car in just one lane through the front straightaway area here at Daytona. As at the line, Brandon Andrews will lead yet another lap, this time by half a car length over Chris Whitaker. We are a third of the way home here tonight at Daytona. The laps are ticking away quickly, but we know the carnage may be just around the corner, so we're going to step aside for a quick commercial break. You won't miss a thing. We're going to go FRN side by side. Welcome back here this evening to Daytona International Speedway, the 24th race of the season for the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series. We are now reaching the halfway point. We've got about maybe roughly 6 or 7 laps before we get to that halfway point of this race. And as we were there at that commercial break, a number of things happening. Matt White made another trip to pit road, fell 2 laps down. He has now dropped out of the server after blinking. We also saw the 18 of Tom Laneville. He was having connection issues. And we also had Cody Jordan, that damaged number 9, finally come to pit road. He is still on pit. And repairs made. Whitaker, what a save. Oh, we're 4 wide. We're 5 wide. They're wrecking.
Oh my goodness.
Behind by Vince and Arthur. They were 5 wide, and I wonder if some of these guys might have been trying to actually come to pit road and the message wasn't received.
Well, there was the 99 of Santini, kind of just like brake checked in front of Whitaker, and that's just how everything went down. Then it was the 7 of Vincent Arthur that made contact with the 99 that spun him around. Luckily did not make contact with the wall, but man, those drivers were all on top of one another, and the 18, like I said, made contact as well. Heavy damage for that front end, that machine, but we stay green, and our leader now is the 35 machine.
Yes, it is. Matthew Geringer now showing the way. We're going to go back and look at the replay of this. I almost looked, I thought, actually, hold on, there was smoke. Did Santini blow up?
That is
there was smoke coming out from at 99. I think he blew up.
I'm going to go back and listen if it did blow up or not.
We're also going to take an onboard with Whitaker, who was behind the 99. I'm pretty sure I saw smoke coming out from underneath that 99 car. He might have overheated and blown that engine.
I mean, he was sitting behind the 24 very close.
Watch right here, just before the 99 gets hit.
I mean, there's a faint sound where it could have been a blow, but usually that smoke is a lot more defined. Yeah, it's hard to tell for the 99 machine if he did blow up or not.
Boy, tough
But if
break
he did,
there.
Here's the thing, if he did, he had to have blown up because he could not move where he was at into pit road. He was just a couple of feet away.
Exactly. He had to teleport his way to pit road. So that says to me that with that car not being able to at least drive down pit road, since he was right there spun out at the pit road entry, that there is something mechanically wrong. And the 18 of Tom Laneville now on pit road smoking as he's bringing his Toyota to the attention of his crew. I didn't see Laneville get involved in that wreck. I didn't see him smoking leaving the incident. I don't know if he ran into the back of somebody or if he's having engine problems here as well in terms of overheating.
I don't know. Yeah, that is so difficult to spot what exactly happened there. But now a new leader. It's going to be Logan Helton, who shipped himself from 5th place all the way up to the lead. And everyone kind of now is baffled, and the front of the field is all shaken up now. As you got the 8 leading the way, then you got Justin Carey in 2nd. Tim Williams, who we've been talking about back in 8, who was running 8th, now is up front.
And he's going to get a big shove from Chris Whitaker, trying to get him to the race lead through 3 and 4. Ooh! Williams ran a little bit higher in that corner than I think Whitaker wanted to. Got awfully close to that left rear quarter panel.
And as these drivers continue on, I'm actually going to have to step aside for a second, and I will be right back, Seth.
All right, so as we watch this battle right now at the front, I want to remind everybody, too, we said this earlier, that this is an open setup league, which means these drivers can set up the car exactly the way they want to. And if indeed David Santini did have his engine go on him, these drivers have the choice of how much grill tape they want to put on the front of the car. And if you put too much, with how tucked up Santini was to the back bumper of Brandon Andrews that entire first run, that car could have easily overheated, the water temp could have spiked, and that's why we saw him have his engine problem off of turn number 4. Is big push there from Chris Whitaker. He's going to put Tim Williams to the race lead, and there's a lot of drivers that come into this race already locked in on points, but there's a lot of drivers that still are trying to find their first victory of the season. Tim Williams is one of those drivers. And right now, we've got 2 Toyotas leading this race, a Ford in 3rd, a Chevrolet in 4th, all 3 of the manufacturers up here inside of the top 5.
And I'm back at Tim Williams leading the way. Logan Elton and Carey still shuffling all over the place. And this is kind of a shocker to see, but if that was a blown up engine that Santini had, which looking based on the fact that he's still on pit road, that just is a complete shocker to everyone to watch out on their tape and really think about, do I want to put more tape on my car or do I want to save it for later?
Well, with the nighttime conditions, you end up seeing a lot of issues like that happen where the engine will overheat just based on the fact there's a lot more grip and the speeds are usually higher.
Everyone's starting to
We're gonna go
single
back and
file
look at the
out.
replay. Oh yeah, I just went back and looked at the replay here of the 18 of Tom Laneville. He blew up as well.
Which makes sense. I mean, he hit the back end of, I believe that was the 7 of Vincent Arthur. That heavy contact with how much force he came in with. I'm not surprised the 18 blew up.
So that's going to make it difficult for these drivers as well because they're going to have to keep an eye on their gauges. Whereas, as a driver, when you're the car that's behind another, you want to push that car. You want to get as much momentum as you possibly can, lock the bumpers for as long as you can, but at the same time, you don't want to run the risk that you're not going to make it to the checkered flag.
But you're starting to see drivers all single filed up, and usually when we see this happen around the time that the window opens, drivers are setting up to come into the pits.
Yeah, but you know why this scares me? Because you've got all these different manufacturers all split up. You've got 2 Toyotas, then a Ford, then 2 Chevys, then you got another Toyota and 2 more Fords, and then a lot of Chevrolets behind them completing the top 10. I mean, the manufacturers are all split up, so if they're all going to be coming to pit road based off of manufacturer alliance, that's going to be pretty difficult to maneuver.
I mean, if they are coming in at those different times, you can just drop off, and you have plenty of space to slow down, and also it gives you space between cars if you've got at least another machine behind you that's not coming into the pits. You pull off to the apron, slow down, and plenty of space to work with, and these drivers should have plenty of room to slow down before they get to pit road.
Wondering if the iRacing server is having just a little bit of problems as far as connectivity, because we're continuing to see more drivers struggle with blinking. The 13 of Tracy Powers was having a moment back there, as was, I think it was the 88 of James Levin. There you see Brandon Anderson, the 24. So, boy, a lot of drivers not only having to deal with Daytona tonight, but maybe having to deal with some internet connections based off the server itself.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it might be something going on with the servers because I'm also having slight issues as well, blinking in and out. So that's why I was taking a step away to see if maybe it was something else in my house or if it's the server that's having these issues.
We saw Matt White was having some problems. We saw John Jones, Tom Laneville, when his engine blew up, his car had actually disappeared off screen for a brief moment. So a lot of drivers seem to be struggling with internet connection here tonight. And that's another thing we have to keep an eye on because we've seen so many times at these super speedways, if a car blinks out for just the right amount of time, they could reappear back on the track in the same spot that another car is.
Reappear in, or just like what happened to John Jones, you can have your car blink out and be kicked out of the server. So a lot of drivers thinking about as it's going to be the 18 car finally decided to pit. Actually, after being in pit road for so long, decided to put the car in the back.
Tough break there for Tom Laneville, who could have easily won his way into the playoffs. Tom Laneville was actually up in the playoff grid when Flatout Racing Network came on board and started broadcasting his Rapid Fire Pizza National Series races. But
here they come.
There we go. Brandon Andrews, Chris Whitaker, a couple of Chevrolets. This looked like really anybody else up towards the front coming in with these two.
They got to make sure that they're not speeding while coming in, and those were a lot of cars coming in with steam. Pit road is 60 miles per hour. 60 miles per hour is the pit road limiter, so these drivers got to make sure they don't speed in.
6 Chevrolets is, Conover there in the 51 overshot his stall a little bit, and that will cost you a ton of time at a track like Daytona. We had Gordon, Andrews, Whitaker. They came down pit road along with Jeffrey Meyer, Conover, and kind of interesting that a Toyota, Barry Stevens, came in with them.
Also looking at other drivers, it looks like Joshua Gordon came in all on his lonesome. But we've got a total of 13 machines still running out there from pack number 8. Here they come.
Williams, Helton, Carey getting awfully close. He's going to turn the 19 into the 8 wall.
And just like that, pit road can ruin your day. As Helton almost made more contact with Love.
Roger Gregory is in, TJ Crampton is in, John Jones, the lap machine. I want to just correct you as well. The 93 of Joshua Gordon actually missed his pit stall. That's why he came out ahead of everybody that he had just come to pit road with. So he's going to have to come around and pit again.
And that's awful to see, as he was already so far behind just by pitting. And if he has to come in by himself again, and here he comes, he's going to be by himself and probably going to be going a lap down due to the fact that everyone else is out there and trying to get going. Car that's still out there, you've got a couple of other machines. You got Tracy Powers coming in this time. You've also got Matt Knight, Vincent Arthur, and Kevin Roy. Those three machines still running out there on track.
The Chevrolets there, 2 out of the JD Motorsports stable, the other out of Junior Motorsports, and looks like those are all going to come to pit road this time. As you can see, Matt Knight way down on the racetrack, giving room to the 7 of Arthur. And there is Roy behind them as well. And this will complete our round of pit stops here. And this is pretty much the only pit stop these drivers are going to have to make here tonight. But you mentioned it before. Oh, wow, Matt Knight. That was a very bad entry into his pit stall. They may not even be able
he's still not in the proper direction. He's got to completely move his way. He's still having troubles in that 0-1. He's got to completely move forward and then get out of there. But his car's not able to take service at the moment.
We're seeing a lot of drivers overslide their pit stalls as well, and I don't know if it's necessarily the fact that Daytona's got that asphalt to concrete transition from the access road to the pit stalls, or if it's just the fact these drivers are trying to take a faster approach into their pit stall to save and gain time.
Speaking of saving time, Tracy Power figured out, hey, I'm going to be losing way too much time if I come in for a 4-tire stop. Went with a 2-tire stop for that 13 machine, has a massive gap on everyone else, and it's a little under 4 seconds. It's dwindling fast, but here comes a huge pack of machines. They're going to run screaming past this 13.
TJ Crampton leading that group with Logan Helton behind him, Brandon Andrews, Mike Garinger, Matthew Garinger, lap machine of John Jones, Justin Carey, Jeffrey Meyer, Josh Conover. I'm surprised is actually up in this lead pack. We saw him overshoot his stall, and Chris Whitaker also in this lead group. The one thing I'd be worried about with that 13 car especially is on a 2-tire pit stop, could he have possibly made sure that that car was completely full of fuel, only taking those right side tires?
It's a risk that it is willing to be taken, and it's going to continue on. The 13 machine might be banking on a caution to come out.
Whitaker got the wall back there in turn 3, kind of got crowded up there, courtesy of the 21 of Justin Carey.
Yeah, right now, Whitaker, that machine is just, the back end completely ripped apart, which would be okay, but the spoiler is slightly dinged down, so it is not helping with the downforce, and it is just going to make that 2 machine a handful all race, as it's going to continue to hurt. Coming through the chatter, it looked like John Jones saying that he is feeling loose, but we were talking about that outside line at the beginning of the broadcast, how it really, if you get enough cars up there, you can get going as Crampton shuffled to the inside.
It's like he may be dropping to the tail end of this pack as he kind of got held up behind the 13 of Tracy Powers. Everybody swung around the outside, boxed him in, and so now he's going to drop back to the tail end of this pack, which currently only holds 10 cars, 9 of them on the lead lap, and the lap machine of John Jones. It's a long ways back, 11 seconds before you get to the second pack led by James Love.
And it's not that big of a pack. It's only 2 cars. James Love and Barry Stevens, they're going to lose a lot of time. The cars that they're hoping that will catch them, you got only 1 machine. That's Tim Williams, who's about a little under 5 seconds away. And then behind him, you've got another 3-car pack. So everyone that came in for that pit stop, they're all scattered. And the biggest pack out there, it's this one that's up front.
And don't forget that Tim Williams is back here because of the contact that happened between himself and Justin Carey, sending him into Logan Helton. I'm actually really surprised that Logan Helton, who I know got some left side damage from hitting the pit wall, that he is actually still up here in this lead pack.
Yeah, decided not to take any of that damage repair and just decided, hey, I need to take my service, get out there. I cannot waste any time if I still want a chance to win this race. And leading that outside lane, just looking for a little bit more help that could possibly push him up front. Just not enough cars on the outside lined up.
And we got John Jones now moving out of the way in the 15 car. Ooh, he's going to actually get the wall pretty good there in turn 1, trying to get up to that 3rd groove. And Logan Helton looking for a wingman to move up there to the front. Right now, if I were looking for someone that I think could push him up there, possibly Jeffrey Meyer in the 38 or Chris Whitaker in the 2. Both of those cars have been pretty fast in the early stages of this race.
Putting the 10 car a lap down, but should still be able to stick with the drivers here in this lead pack, making it now 11 machines that are in this front row if we can see Evan Longacre stick with this pack up here.
I guarantee you that a number of the drivers that came to pit road, if they had their grill tape set anywhere near the number that Tom Laneville or David Santini had, they probably took some tape off to make sure they can make it the rest of the way. But right now, you've got a number of names up here at the front of the field that are still looking for their first win of the season. As a matter of fact, the entire top 5 have not gone to victory lane this season. Justin Carey, of course, is a Soda Guys Cup Series driver in that 21 car, but you got to go back there to 6th place, Logan Helton, before you find a previous winner here this season.
Logan Helton looking to make a push up front as that 8 machine tried out Jeffrey Meyer and also got Whitaker following suit, but you cannot really make that outside lane work with just 3 machines. You need like possibly 5 cars to challenge the power that the inside lane has. But I will say that the outside lane does have a ton of momentum. If you can just get one more car there, you might be able to push your car up front. As I say, they need more. They already pushed themselves side by side for the lead. It might be even taking the lead here as Meyer in front of the 24.
Meyer, Helton, Whitaker, that looks like a pretty good combination up there on the top side. One driver, though, that round of green flag pit stops really hurt was the 8 of Logan Helton, due to the fact that both of his BJ McLeod Racing teammates are nowhere to be seen. Santini is currently on pit road after what we're pretty certain was an engine failure, and Barry Stevens is all the way back running in a 2-car pack between himself and James Love in the 11th position, so there's really no teammate help for that 8 car.
No, not really. There's not a lot of machines. There are some manufacturers up here that you might be able to try to get help from in the 35 and the 13, but that's about it. The rest of cars that are up here are either Chevys or Fords, and that's going to be a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too, because we saw the Joe Gibbs Racing and the BJ McLeod Toyotas working together, but in the early portions of this race, Geringer in the 35, Tracy Powers the 13, they were actually up on the top side, not really working with the Toyota, so I'm not necessarily sure they got the memo of the Supras all working together in this race.
I mean, you can always make a plan, but then once, I mean, like for fighters, you can make a plan of all that you want, but once that first hit comes in, that plan is out the window, and it's just all about surviving, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now with this Super Speedway race, where it's more of pick and choose the driver that's in front of you, and hopefully they'll take you up front.
So Joshua Gordon now, he's gotten put a lap down after we saw he had missed his pit stall and had to come back around. So now in this lead group, we've got the race within the race, because Evan Longacre just passed Joshua Gordon for what would be the free pass position. So it'll be the 10 and the 93 trying to make sure they are the first car 1 lap down, should we get a caution to get back on the lead lap. But Jeffrey Meyer now becomes the new race leader of this event, ahead of Logan Helton, Whitaker, and Geringer trying to get that outside line going. We are less than 25 laps away from the conclusion of this race. We're going to be taking you to the finish after this final commercial break. Again, you will not miss a thing. We are going FRN side by side. Less than 20 laps to go, 18 when we hit the line next time by here tonight at Daytona for the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series. We've been able to run 57 laps under green flag conditions. That's not to say we've been without incident, but we haven't really seen the dreaded big one yet. The way that they're slicing and dicing up here in this lead pack, though, Sam, you kind of get the feeling it might be around the next corner.
It's either going to be with this front pack that have been kind of getting a little antsy, where you have Whitaker on the inside with Helton and also Meyer. Those three machines have been quick and up front most of this race. But that outside line, they've been shuffling everywhere, and it's looking a little nerve-wracking. Also, the second pack, but they're about almost 30 seconds back. That pack of machines, they're trying to get hooked up and moving forward. But man, it is going to be a struggle for them.
Carson Bowers leading that pack. Vincent Arthur, Kevin Roy, James Love, Tim Williams in this group, along with Barry Stevens and Joshua Gordon. And a number of these drivers we documented before coming back from that commercial break are drivers that kind of had issues when we had that round of green flag pit stops. That's why they're back here where they are.
Yeah, heavy damage for most of these drivers that are back here. And I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, the 78 had some damage there, as well as the 7 and the 4. James Love had a little bit of a contact with Knight earlier in the race. And I've been listening to the radio chat, and it's been a lot of Vincent Arthur and Carson Bowers talking to each other back and forth as they were catching up to one another on figuring out how do we get grouped up and how do we just dwindle this gap that this front pack has, because they were about 30 seconds back. They've cut it down to 29 seconds now, but they are going to need a lot more time because they are running out of time.
They're going to need a caution, to be honest, because even if they gain a second a lap, they're still going to be about 4 seconds back when we get to the checkered flag. So they are in need of a yellow flag to catch back up. And as I said, we've run green flag from the start of this race up to this point, but that's not been without incident. We had Cody Jordan hit the inside wall out of the exit of the tri-oval after contact with Tim Williams. That didn't bring out a caution. David Santini's car blew up out of turn 4. Everybody was able to scatter and avoid him. That didn't bring out a caution. And we've had a number of incidents on pit road during that cycle of green flag pit stop, but the green flag has remained out despite all of that.
Yeah, everyone that's running out there on track, kind of situated with another driver, or with another pack, I should say. So we've got our two defined packs where up front, we talked about it, 15 laps left in a run. This is when things are going to start getting a little hot and heavy, and we're starting to see it.
And it's interesting, too, because I'm trying to look for alliances that could be made at the closing stages of this race. You do have the RSS cars that could work together. Only one of them's on the lead lap right now, though. That's the 38 of Jeffrey Meyer, but he's got his teammate Joshua Gordon, a New Hampshire winner, that maybe could help him out. And then you got the two MBM cars up there on the top side of Matthew Geringer and Tracy Powers. Of course, MBM has a win this season, courtesy of TJ Crampton at Kentucky, but that's really the only manufacturer, or at least teammate alliance I can see, besides maybe the Penske cars back there of TJ Crampton and Roger Gregory.
Yeah, you got drivers that feel a lot more comfortable pushing machines coming to the end here, and drivers that feel comfortable leading the way. Garage looks like in that 35 machine as someone that likes to push and really carry their speed going forward. And Justin Gary, that 21 machine, we've been seeing lingering around 10th to 15th position most of this race, but once those pit stops happen, that 21 machine decided I'm going to be up here in the top 5 and for the rest of this race.
It's interesting because you look at our top two drivers right now, Chris Whitaker and Logan Helton. If you want to look at the super speedway numbers, back at Daytona, Helton finished 2nd, Whitaker finished 3rd, and then the following super speedway race at Talladega, Whitaker won, Helton finished 2nd. So those are the only two drivers in the field that has finished in the podium in both super speedway races this season.
We've only seen a little bit of 3-wide action. It's going to continue forward as Tracy Power trying to power his way on the outside all by himself and really actually making it kind of work through the tri-oval. But everyone starts to get scattered up just a little bit. That 13 machine looking for a friend, and looking like Longacre's going to be that friend.
Going to work his way around his teammate Matthew Geringer. So now the 13 who's been pushing the 35 will actually get the benefit of the 35 pushing him. Big run to the inside there of the 51 of Josh Conover, and we saw him early stages of this race. He was hanging at the back. Now he's up here trying to win in his debut race.
Let's remember, some of these drivers that are up front are a lap down. That 93 machine of Joshua Gordon, who right now running third in this pack is actually 1 lap down. So you got to be aware of certain machines that are up here. They are 1 lap down, as well as the 10 machine of Evan Longacre is that other driver a lap down.
12 of Roger Gregory is also off the lead lap there, that Worth Ford Mustang. But very much these drivers, despite being off the lead lap, could certainly be players and pushers for some of these lead lap cars in the closing stages.
Jeffrey Meyer feeling like the outside lane is where he needs to be, trying to carry the speed and getting help from the 51. But these drivers all shuffling back and forth as Tracy Powers has found his way to the inside lane. And now it's, where are your friends? How do you situate yourself? Do you drop to the back, try to make that third lane work? As there's always the potential, if you start moving, someone else is going to move in front of you.
Daytona, Talladega, it's like a game of chess at over 180 miles per hour. You mentioned it, positioning as Tracy Powers into pit road. Now remember, Tracy Powers went with a 2-tire pit stop on the round of pit stops that we had. He might not have gotten that thing full of fuel.
Maybe did not get it packed in, and as well, maybe felt like their tires were about to go for the 13 machine. Looking like a strong contender for this win. Now in pit road, hoping for a caution to come out this lap before he gets him put down a lap down.
And now the battle for the lead side by side. Jeffrey Meyer on the top side, on the bottom Whitaker. Meyer's going to clear after a great push down the back straightaway, courtesy of Conover.
Looked like he was trying to carry the 51 with them, but just ran out of space. 51 can be shuffled up to the third lane. Make sure you don't scrape that wall. I mean, you're pretty close there.
Joshua Gordon pushing up off of 4, almost getting into the side of Justin Carey. That kills the outside line momentum, but then further up, Whitaker's going to jump to the outside. He's got Logan Helton helping him.
Update on that second pack, they have been losing time. They've been shuffling to figure out how to get in the right lane and start moving forward, and they've lost a total of 3 seconds the last time we talked about them. So all the action up front, if a caution happens up front, that second pack is just licking their lips for that moment to happen.
Whitaker now on the outside line clears for the top position, and you could just see the roofs of the race cars back in the middle of this pack dancing left and right. When stuff like that happens, usually there's a mistake, there's usually contact, it usually results in a caution. So this is what we call the eye of the storm with 10 laps to go. This could be where we see our first caution.
Jeffrey Meyer to the wall! He's coming down! Gary's goes around!
Caution! Should be out. Garinger got a 35. Crampton's going through the grass.
And I am baffled by Meyer hitting the wall, and it looked like the wall just launched him to the inside.
It was hard to tell who made the contact. I think it might have been the 93, his teammate, that got him in the quarter panel that shot him to the outside wall off of 4.
That is, you hate to see it up front, but you knew something was brewing. Something was going to happen.
This breathes new life into those drivers that were 9th place on back. They're going to have a shot at this win with less than 10 to go.
There was, I think what possibly happened was netcode launching the 38 to the wall, and then after hitting the wall, it bounced them to the inside. After hitting the back bumper of the 2, the 38 just launched to the outside wall.
Saw right there with Carey getting spun up the track. He went in front of the 35 of Garinger, who's been having such a strong run tonight. And the reason why that is not a good thing for the 35 is especially the front end of the race car is the most aerodynamic part for these drivers to be able to produce the speed, cut the air. And if you've got damage in some way, shape, or form, even a ripple can really affect your race car for the remainder of the event.
Justin Carey probably took the brunt of most of that action in that 21 machine, getting sideswiped by Meyer and then also getting hit again by the 38. But the whole entire back end is completely destroyed. Luckily, the front end is still there, but that is a lot of damage on the back end for the 21.
And a lot of that came more from the contact between himself and Garinger than it really did from the outside wall. And boy, you mentioned it. You hate to see it because these were a number of drivers that were up there running at the front, very much in the conversation to take this race win. And, you know, unless circumstances drastically change here, what could be the final restart of the night, more than likely this has taken them out of the conversation of receiving the checkered flag tonight at Daytona.
Looking at other contact that possibly happened up there. It looked like a lot of the machines were able to scatter and not make any other contact. But man, that was... I think the only drivers that are really happy to see that caution has to be that second pack.
And a number of those drivers from that second pack actually decided to come to pit road. The 19 of Tim Williams, the 4 of Kevin Roy, Barry Stevens, Vincent Arthur, James Love, all decided to come to pit lane. Remember, they've got 2 more sets of tires after this caution came out that they could have come down pit road and taken on, so we'll see. I already said it before, tires don't really seem to matter as much here at Daytona, but based on the fact that all of these top 5 that decided to stay out, actually top 6, they've got 25 laps on their set, so does that create a whole lot of difference in terms of speed or just in terms of handling?
Really, it's going to mess with a mixture of both in a way, mostly handling. I mean, we were seeing cars dodging up and down, but it's going to give you a lot more grip to make and be successful with those different moves. Speed-wise, really it's about how your car is looking aerodynamically. But penalties were given out on that caution. Jeffrey Meyer, the 38, was given an EOL for being the cause of that caution.
Well, one teammate's penalty is another teammate's saving grace. Joshua Gordon was 3rd in that line when the 38 had his problem. He was the first car 1 lap down. He's going to be back on the lead lap, and looks like he'll be restarting in the 15th position. The 35 of Matthew Geringer, they are still repairing his race car. Also, extended stay on pit road for the 10 of Evan Longacre. I didn't see him get involved in the wreck, but maybe he got a piece of it that we didn't see.
Maybe possibly contact that had happened earlier in the race, maybe. The drivers are stacked up, and we're going to be going this time by. And, you know, we thought maybe we were done with the accidents, but I think green-white checkered might be in our future here.
Could very well be a very typical super speedway if that were the case, because the old adage, when push comes to shove, well, that's got nothing on super speedway racing. We're going to see these drivers shoving each other, whether it be bumper to bumper or door to door here, as we are going to get the green flag with 6 laps to go here tonight at Daytona. Your top 6 stayed out on 25-lap-old tires. Kevin Roy is the first car. I'm sorry, make that actually Tracy Powers is the first car on newer tires. We saw him have to make the unscheduled pit stop. He stayed on the lead lap. He'll be 7th. Tim Williams was the first car to pit road under this caution in 8th. Green flag back in the air.
Back in the air. They're going to be staying side by side here. Now another machine to watch out for. Joshua Gordon at 93. Like we've stated that there was a battle going on for that lucky dog position. The 93 was the one that was gifted that.
As we are not done with cautions, there's still a battle for the lucky dog position going on between Matt Knight, Roger Gregory, and Evan Longacre. As they're the only cars 1 lap down, is up at the front. You've got a Chevy pushing a Chevy on the bottom, but a Ford trying to push a Toyota. Carson Bowers spins it around to the inside. Everybody else saves it up on the racing surface. No caution.
No caution to continue going straight as Carson Bowers' day is over unless another caution comes out. I'm going back to see what happened to 16, but it looked like he kind of just got shuffled out of there and got contact with Tracy Powers, and that's what launched the 16 out of the way.
We are 3 wide back there. I believe that was the lap machine of Roger Gregory getting kicked up there 3 wide, with Kevin Roy and Tracy Powers taking him in the middle and inside line. We now sell it back out to double file from the front of the pack all the way back.
And it's going to be a Crampton in that 22. Got Tim Williams, 12 to 7 of Vincent Arthur. A lot of these machines were just cruising back in the back of the field in that second pack. Now have a chance to run up here and have a chance to win this. Tracy Powers by himself on the outside. That 13 machine hoped for a caution, got it, and now trying to make a move.
Big run on the outside line, trying to make sure he doesn't hit the outside wall as he's gotten at least alongside of Vincent Arthur. Now Tim Williams sees that momentum. He's going to jump up there. Here comes TJ Crampton as well. We're 3 wide, middle of the pack.
With Tim Williams coming up, that's going to stall out the 13 and making him drop back, needing to get more momentum and trying to get more help. As you're seeing, it looks like the 19 machine kind of blocking everyone, and now he's stuck on the outside as, oh, that was close with the 7.
I'm not really sure that Vincent Arthur cut him a break. I think more Tim Williams forced his way in front of the 7 car, as Tracy Powers is now going to fall to the back of this pack after scraping the wall a little bit there in the entrance of turn 1. Outside line's got the momentum though with Crampton and Williams. Inside line doggedly there. 4 Chevrolets lined up nose to tail. Or I'm sorry, actually make that, yes, 4 Chevrolets lined up nose to tail, pushing the Toyota of Logan Helton.
You got 6 on the outside, and once they get the momentum on the back stretch, that's where they're going to be getting a lot of that speed coming down. And there you see it, coming out of 4, the 22 leading this lap. And that is the power move that you're going to have to wait and see coming out of turn number 4, coming to the checkered flag.
Check out that car, 4th on the outside line. That is Joshua Gordon. We mentioned he got the free pass. When you get the lucky dog, you start very tail into the field behind lead lap and lap down cars. He's been able to work his way now up into the 8th position in just about 5 laps.
And that's what we love to see here at Super Speedway Racing. It gives you that chance to move up front and be up here with everyone else and make these bold moves. As Tim Williams now ducking into the inside, thinking about making 3 wide, and thinks otherwise.
Tried to see if he could get up the middle between Crampton and Whitaker, but he just didn't have the run to do it, trying to generate something there in that white and green number 19 machine.
These drivers want to go. They want to start moving up forward because it's time to go. As Tim Williams comes down in front of Vincent Arthur. Arthur's been having a rough day with that front bumper. Really should have spun out 2 cars by now. As 3 wide, and here comes Vincent Arthur down the middle.
He's going to try and make something happen here. He's going to have Joshua Gordon.
Oh,
there was
contact again.
Yikes. Keep it together, boys, as they exit off of turn 2. A congested turn 2. Conover trying to give room on the inside line to this 3-wide formation. Here comes Crampton up the middle. Williams with help from Powers going to make a 3rd lane into turn 3.
They're coming up the lap traffic. That's going to be the 9 of Cody Jordan. Jordan might be catching up the right time or getting off the track, but with them 3 wide, there's nowhere for that 9 car to go.
And you just get the feeling we may end up having a caution here, but they're coming to the white flag, which means we race back to the checkers no matter what happens. Crampton's now clear for the lead with
help. Whoa, Gordon! Tim Williams making some contact with the 93. They're going to continue going forward, but now there goes contact again with the 2. These guys are running all over the place. There they go! Tim Williams, there goes fire!
5, 6, 7. Oh, Kevin Roy just was flying in the air there just at the bottom of our camera. There's only about 3 cars up in this lead pack now. Crampton, Arthur, Helton, they're going to settle it out at Daytona unless Gordon can get a big shove down the back straightaway.
Gordon's trying to get help, but he is just a little bit too far from getting that draft help, and they're going to be scattering behind him. It's just a 3-car battle. Who is going to get it done? Crampton, Arthur, and Helton.
Crampton's looking for his 2nd win of the season. Arthur is looking for his 1st here in the Rapid 5 Pizza National Series. Helton's looking for his 4th. Down into the tri-oval. Arthur looks high. Crampton looks to block. TJ Crampton's going to get his 2nd win of the season tonight here at Daytona.
And it looked like Bowers might have been in the way for the 7 to make a move on the outside, but also just not enough momentum to help that 7 machine of Vincent Arthur to get by Crampton. But TJ Crampton, that 22 machine, giving Penske a win this season.
TJ Crampton made his debut for MBM Motorsports, went to victory lane at Kentucky, turned the heads at Penske. They signed him to the 22. And as you mentioned, his 1st win with his new team, as he's going to put Penske Racing in victory lane for the 1st time this season.
And that's just a massive day for Team Penske, who they were trying all day to stay up front, make some giant moves. And Crampton had an adventurous day being up front early, then drift on back because of some pit road incidences, and able to work that way forward for this 22 of TJ Crampton.
See his teammate Roger Gregory there offering some congratulations as he was on the back bumper of the 22, and I find it so ironic because if you look at the numbers, it was very much in favor of the Chevrolets, very much in favor of the Toyotas. There were only 3 Fords in the field here tonight, and it is a blue oval going to victory lane at Daytona.
You knew that they were not going to stay clean coming to that white flag. There were just too many cars that have been making way too many aggressive moves. And you do have to make those aggressive moves, but there's also smart moves to make sure that your car is there at the end. And we just saw 3 machines making too many aggressive moves that got themselves shuffled up, contact made, and making that contact exiting the tri-oval the worst place to do it so that you're sideways entering turn 1. And that's where all the chaos started happening.
We're going to try and give everybody as many camera angles of the incidents that happened here on the final lap as possible. And at the same time, we're going to interview some of our front finishers from tonight's event. And let's kick things off with our 3rd place finisher, Logan Helton. Logan, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yes, I do.
Well, we saw an unbelievable last lap there, and you were able to make it through the carnage. But we looked at your numbers at the super speedways coming into this race as well. Top 3 in both. Another solid outing here tonight at the super speedway of Daytona. How was it like for you from the driver's cockpit?
It was definitely kind of a save at the beginning type race, but at the end, it was definitely just all out, as much as you can get. Unfortunately, the first green flag pit stop, I got damage that I wasn't able to fix. If I feel like I was okay, just it was the fact that I had front end damage, and that really held me back. I felt like I could have had something at the end there, but just got unlucky with pit stops.
Yeah, talk about those pit stops afterwards, because we saw you earlier on working not only with your two teammates, but also looked like the Toyotas out of Joe Gibbs Racing. After the pit stops were over, though, you were really one of the lone Toyotas up there aside from the MBM drivers. So how difficult was it to try and make alliances with other drivers from different manufacturers?
Um, I've actually raced with Chris Whitaker before in other leagues, super speedway leagues. So me and him kind of like we haven't raced with each other in a while, but we just knew each other, and out of all these people that we didn't know a lot, we just kind of obviously we'd worked together. So I think we never even talked to each other once the whole race, but I think we just knew we were gonna kind of help each other out, and I helped him get clear a few times, and he helped me get clear a few times.
I mean, yeah, Logan, it was a crazy finish, and I know that there really wasn't enough momentum with just 3 machines, but was there anything that you possibly could have done there on that final lap, even though, like I said, there's not a lot of momentum or moves to make?
Um, can you say that question again?
Was there anything that you possibly could have done there at the end to maybe move up to second or first place?
I felt like my best thing to do was try and make Vincent think I was gonna go with him on the high side and kind of like duck low last second. But again, with that front end damage, I couldn't really do anything. It was mostly just, I mean, even in the draft behind him, I was falling back some. So there was.
Well, Logan, obviously, as we said, your numbers coming into this race at the super speedways were really good, and third super speedway race of the season, you bring it home with another third place run. A great performance for you here tonight. Obviously, we've been talking week after week about you pointing your way towards the playoffs with momentum, and to survive a track here like Daytona the way you have been able to this entire season with the super speedways, really an incredible feat. And with that momentum, looks like you're definitely going to be looking like a driver we will certainly be looking at in the playoffs, carrying that momentum in. We're going to do some shout-outs now.
Yeah, thanks to my friendly friends that watched the race. My sponsors, RGC Media and East Bay Landscaping, LKH Graphics, and also thank you to the league sponsors of, let me pull them up real quick. League sponsors of Rapid Fire Pizza, iRacing, iFlag, FSM Customs, Stroba's Racing Graphics, and Abiding Love Memorial Urns. Thanks to you guys for putting on broadcast, and everyone in the league that puts this on, and my teammate BJ McLeod Motorsport.
That's Logan Helton. He brings it home third place here tonight at Daytona. His third straight top 3 finish at a super speedway. Congrats on a great run, Logan. We look forward to talking to you next week at the Lady in Black of Darlington.
Yeah, thank you guys.
And let's go down and see if we can get Vincent Arthur, driver that we're used to seeing up in the Cup Series. We're actually going to see him in the Cup Series race here at Daytona tomorrow night. See what kind of experience he might have gained here tonight in the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series race. Hey, Vincent, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yes, sir.
Well, you were probably one of a collective number of drivers very happy to see that caution come out as you were in that second pack. Once you had new life breathed into you, what was it like up there in those final 7 or so laps going back green towards the finish?
Well, as Larry Mack always says, you got to reach up there and pull them belts tight one more time because it's Daytona. You never know what's going to happen. And honestly, I have no idea how I was even able to get up to the position I was in. I forced the car in areas that the car should not have been put into. And luckily, the people around me were smart. Yeah, caution really saved us. But that last run was hectic. I knew I had to make something work. I honestly have no idea. Just the adrenaline just pumping that whole time. I wish I could have got that run down the backstretch. I've been running the cup cars so much this week that these have a lot less draft than those do. So I mean, if this was tomorrow night and we were in the same position, I guarantee you we'd be coming home with the checker flag.
It's incredible that you guys were able to make it over 60 laps in green flag conditions. Not to say we weren't without incidents. We saw a number of drivers have difficulty with pit lane. What was it about the pit road that was causing so many problems for drivers?
I think people just don't know where to brake. It's hard being on pit road, getting your braking points down and braking, with fresher tires versus really old tires. They're two different things because everything's really hot. And it's so easy to lock them up. And once you got one wheel locked up, you're not going to slow it down at all. So I heard my teammate from the Soda Guys Cup Series, James Love, got put in the wall on pit stops too. So, I'm glad if there's anything to be thankful for that I was not in that lead pack the entire race, was to be that I didn't have to pit with a bunch of people. I pit with like 2 or 3 other cars, but it's treacherous. You don't know where other guys are going to be. You don't know how early they're going to brake, who's going to try to send it in there, So, it's just not being able to rely on the people around you. That's really what the biggest issue was.
Yeah, Vincent, I mean, on that last run, it seemed like it was your front bumper that was being chopped off almost every single time they could. How was it mentally trying to stay focused every single time you saw a car run right in front of you?
It's frustrating. Getting in those positions, knowing I have the car that can go and win the race, getting chopped, especially, Tim, no offense to him, but he could not hold a line to save his life tonight. So, getting behind him, I knew I was going to be able to push TJ if I could just, get there. And I tried to pull the same move on TJ that I did to Tim, but I think if I would have, kept in there, I would have just spun him in front of the field, and that would have, not have been the ending that you guys were deserving. And although we did have that one big wreck, I feel like we gave you guys a show on that final restart. But early in the race, I was testing out the waters, seeing what I could and couldn't do up there, and coming to that final restart, you just gotta have faith in your car, have faith in your ability, hold that wheel straight, and you got a death grip on it, because if you make one little mistake, you're going to take out a lot of cars.
Vincent, the last 2 times that we've seen you in a Rapid Fire Pizza National Series car was back at the Indianapolis Road Course and at Road America, 2 tracks that the Soda Guys Cup Series did not go to that following evening. Tomorrow night, though, you guys have your final regular season race here under the lights at Daytona International Speedway. Is there anything, even minute, that you can take away from this race to apply to the Cup race tomorrow night?
Yeah, teammates, being able to work with people. Me and James Love, we were able to hook up a little bit there. When I was following Carson, just being able to, gain the trust in between, seeing, when we can and can't push each other, like when we're comfortable around each other. And then I know, some guys are coming up from the series for tomorrow. So, just being able to gain that, that mutual trust and having that acquaintanceship with the people that come up, the more people you can work with, the better you're going to be. So, and of course, always working with the draft, seeing how to get a run, when to get a run. Although these things have less draft effect than the cup cars do, it's still, the same basis of drafting. So there's a lot that can be carried over. I'm really glad that Junior Motorsports gave me this opportunity tonight. I had a blast. I wish I could have, pulled out on the backstretch and tried to go for the checker flag. But by the time I got that run, I was a little too late. But be able to come second, I'm pretty satisfied with that.
Well, it was certainly a show for us up here in the booth. I know that you probably had a death grip on the wheel down there on those final couple of laps, but it's going to be a lot of fun to see what you're able to do in the Cup Series race tomorrow. Of course, trying to battle for a playoff position. But for now, Vincent, we're going to let you do some shout-outs.
Thanks, guys. Got to thank Rapid Fire Pizza, iRacing iFlag, FSM Customs, Shorba Racing Graphics, Abiding Love Memorial Errands, Jones Racing Setups, and then Full Tilt Brewing Company. And tonight, I got to thank Junior Motorsports and Xbox Series X. Although I'm a PlayStation guy, they are my sponsor for tonight.
It's been a while since we've seen a junior motorsports car up inside of the top 3, but Vincent Arthur puts his number 7 second place here tonight at Daytona. Congrats on the great run. Again, good luck in tomorrow night's Soda Guys Cup Series race here at Daytona as well.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you.
And down in victory lane, let's see if we can get TJ Crampton. TJ, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios, you guys.
Gotcha.
Well, I mean, let's take a look at your season, man. You made your debut with MBM Motorsports at Kentucky. You take a checkered flag there. Then you come over to Penske Racing driving the 22. We've seen you give that car a number of good runs, but you put it in victory lane here tonight, Daytona, for your second win of the season. How much in your rearview mirror were you focusing outside from the windshield on that final lap?
I mean, I was very, very paranoid because I saw that 7 and on coming down on the front stretch, he made it on the outside. I didn't want to go 3 wide, so I put up the block a few times, even a few laps before that. And then down the backstretch, I was just looking in the mirror the whole time, waiting to see if they were going to move out or not. I saw him drop back, and I figured he was going to get a run off of 4, but he didn't get the run, even though he had Hilton behind him, and I just stayed on the bottom. And luckily, the draft just isn't as strong in these cars as the Trucks or Cup, but got the win.
You know, we were talking during the broadcast the fact you Ford Mustangs were infinitely outnumbered by the Chevrolets and the Toyotas, only 3 of you as opposed to the other 2 manufacturers. How difficult was it trying to figure out who to work with when you didn't have a fellow Ford Mustang around you?
I mean, I just stayed at the back with Roger the entire race, basically up to pit stops. He got blocked from his pit stall and had to do another lap around and ultimately lost the draft. So I was just by myself, hanging back, and took 2 tires on the stop, got track position, and just basically just didn't help anyone. Just drove my way through the field on the bottom and then got up to the top on that restart and was able to just lead the top side.
Yeah, TJ, I mean, you got the win there in those final 6 laps. But before we got to that point, when you were up front before that caution came out, how much were you feeling confidence-wise that you were going to be able to make a move there with just so many laps left before that caution?
I mean, I was really only waiting to like 5 laps to go, and the caution came out, and then my mind just clicked. Just you're up front, just go for it. If they crash, you're gonna crash. I mean, luckily the crash happened on the last lap behind me, because I was really waiting for the big one to happen. Me and Roger thought it was just gonna happen mid race to towards the middle, but luckily did not get involved in any of the crashes, and I had the move. Thanks to the guy behind me. I don't remember who was behind me when he pushed me, but thanks to him as well.
You know, TJ, you talked about you spent most of the beginning of this race towards the rear of the field, at least towards the rear of the lead pack. How easy is it, or how difficult is it to decide when it's actually time to push forward? Because we talked about the fact it's all about timing, it's all about positioning yourself at a certain point of the race to make sure you're that first car coming off of turn 4. From a driver's standpoint of view, is it trusted to luck, or is there really a strategy in positioning yourself in the right place at the right time?
I think it depends on the driver, because on some other occasions people just go when they want to go. But for me, I usually have a strict lap number of when I think it's time to go for me. But if I think that they're too racy up front, then I just stay back and then wait on how it goes, and then it's once it gets past like a dead point lap, then I just go. But I just really think it depends on the type of person and what they have.
Well, TJ, I can honestly tell you, when I saw you there leading the field into turn 1 on that white flag lap, kind of cast my memory back to chasing you a time or 2 over on the 2003 sim. So it's great to see it back in victory lane. We're going to let you do some shout-outs now.
I just got to thank Penske, Boyd Hogan, and Roger Gregory for giving me the opportunity. I got to thank Big O Tires, my sponsor from real life. I got to thank you guys for broadcasting, and all the league sponsors: Rapid Fire Pizza, iRacing, iFlag, FSM Customs, Shrubba's Racing Graphics, and Abiding Love Memorial Urns.
Well, TJ Crampton gets Penske Racing their first win of the season here tonight in a wild one at Daytona. Congrats on a great run. We're going to let you go enjoy your victory now.
Thank you, guys.
And so as the conclusion of this race is done, I think we can say, Sam, as we usually say when we're at these type of races, we come into these races with certain expectations, and more often than not, the track and the racing does not disappoint.
It really doesn't. I think some of our drivers who were expecting to be up front, I mean, David Santini, that was probably one of the biggest shocks at the start of this race that I don't think any of us were expecting to see. And then everyone, all the other, us staying green for as long as we were, even though there were a ton of instances that happened. That was just a fun race to watch from top to bottom, and I cannot wait to see what tomorrow brings with the Soda Guys series.
It's also going to be interesting, too, because I've been keeping an eye on the point standings during the course of these past weeks. After TJ got his first win at Kentucky, they did have him listed in the 66. Obviously, when he moved over to the 22, the points that are gained, whichever driver is driving that ride, it gets set back to 0. But he has made a number of starts in the series, albeit for 2 different teams, and now 2 trips to victory lane. So it'll be interesting to see after this week if maybe, just maybe, TJ Crampton's going to be a 5th driver that locks himself into the playoffs through trips to victory lane.
Yeah, right now TJ is looking to have another, with the last couple of races in the regular season, for top 5, if not top 3 finishes. Another win would be amazing for this 22 machine to possibly point his way to the point where his win will count. But it's going to be a lot of work that TJ Crampton has to go through if he wants to get into the playoffs.
We're going to cycle here through the finishing results from tonight's race as we've been showing you the top 10 during the driver interviews. And one thing that we saw here tonight with that third groove, drivers going up there, sometimes overstepping that cushion, hitting that outside wall, maybe a little bit of a preface for next week as we're going to be heading to Darlington Raceway, a track that is very well known for giving drivers some right side damage.
Yeah, that Darlington stripe is going to be something a lot of drivers are going to have to worry about, and it's all about keeping your car clean and also hitting the wall at the right spot. That maybe it will help you get through the corner, but Darlington is a lot of drivers love it, and a lot of drivers hate that track.
And tomorrow night, we saw a lot of drivers here tonight try and win their way into the playoffs. It's going to be same song, second verse tomorrow night with the Soda Guy Cup Series drivers, as we're going to see a lot of drivers, a lot of big names that are down below that cut line, trying to see if they can get a last-minute win. It's their last opportunity here in the regular season to advance their way into the postseason.
Yeah, a lot of drivers that cannot point their way in are in must-win situations, and Daytona is that wild card that we keep on talking about. And it's their chance to win and get in, but there's always the chance of a guy who's already won get another win on top of their board.
We could also see possibly point standings come into play. A couple of drivers do have an opportunity to maybe point their way in, and we heard Vincent Arthur say a number of the guys that are regulars here in the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series will be coming up to Cup Series rides in tomorrow night's race, so expect a big field and a lot of points to possibly be exchanged during the course of that event. But Sam, as always, looking forward to tomorrow night, a great race here tonight, and I appreciate you joining me for it.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure there, Seth.
Thanks to everyone that tuned in this evening. We hope that you enjoyed tonight's race. Again, we'll see you guys tomorrow night for the Soda Guys Cup Series race here at Daytona. Next Friday night, it is Darlington Raceway, as it's the penultimate race of the regular season for these Rapid Fire Pizza National Series drivers. But for Samuel Dyer, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for tuning in here tonight at Daytona, as TJ Crampton is your winner. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.